Welcome to Invincipod, probably the best podcast about the Amazon original series Invincible on the internet. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And we have made it to the season finale. It's bittersweet when we hit a finale. Like, I was watching today and I was like, oh man, I'm really enjoying this. But this is it for who knows how long.
That's the thing. So season 1 finale, we're like, great, on to season 2. We know
We know it's coming.
But we didn't know it was going to be like a 2.5 year thing.
Yeah,
we didn't know it was going to be so long. We'd start a whole other show that's about to hit episode 100.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so now it's like, I feel a little bit like sadder that it's the season finale because I'm like, now I know I have to wait.
Yeah,
But
just need a date. Like, there's so much about this season finale compared to the last one that I'm just like, okay, they know that they've got season 3. Like, they're not worrying about stuff because they know that they've got a third season and they can set stuff up in this.
Right.
But still, I'm just like, I need a date or at least a time frame. Like, give me
I feel like we'll get it soon.
I hope so. I think so.
I feel like we'll get it soon. I know with the end of season 1, we were excited because they did like a montage of things.
Yeah.
That kind of set up where everybody was going into season 2. You were kind of hoping for that this time around, but I feel like we're good. I think I'm kind of hoping this is what I want to happen. Comic-Con's in July.
Mm-hmm.
They do it again. They announce we're coming in the spring.
Yep.
Or no, we're coming in the fall. And you can watch the Rexplode special now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. And then
or this episode gave me another thought of a special that they could do that doesn't tie directly in, but would be a great episode because the stuff that we find out about it in the comics is fascinating. And that's the future Guardians, like that dimensions, like Guardians who got old, like all that stuff where sounds like Mark was a shithead, and it sounds like well, I mean, it wasn't just Rudy, that was Rex in the robot suit, and it's all that stuff. Like,
but is it that I had to question about that because Rudy is a clone of Rex.
Yeah.
So
but I don't know.
Just
the way that she sort of said, "Shut up, Rex." I was just like, it was more of an interaction that she'd have with Rex than Rudy, I think. So.
Or is her relationship with Rudy so fractured? It's like a burn, like it's a dig.
Yeah. Fuck you, you're Rex. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. You're acting like Rex.
Or he's got older, and so he sort of becomes more like his host or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would make for a great special though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It is funny because Mark says I just got here. But it is cool because you can think of it as like Mark does go back, the future Guardians send him back, and then now that Mark's back, he could just tell and describe to Cecil everything he saw, everything about the dimension. He could let Robot know, and it might take him that long to finally get the technology to go time travel and go through dimensions to get to him. Like it takes they've been working on this for, I don't know, 40 years maybe.
I think they say something like that. Like we've been working on this since you left.
Yeah.
Like I from the books, that is like, so that is a story and a plot point and a MacGuffin and a way out of that happens exactly as the comics do. And I was predicting last episode that that cliffhanger would be where we end the season with Mark trapped in another dimension.
Right.
But no, we got it in the first half. We got all of that stuff done in the first half of this episode.
Yeah. Can I just say I really, really enjoyed this episode?
Yeah, it's really good. It's
almost too good. It's like there's stuff in this where I was just like, man, they're really doing it right. I don't know if this hit everybody else over the head. It's something I certainly noticed. A sort of symbolism of Mark after beating up Angstrom to death, and just looking at his hands and having his hands covered in Omni-Man glove red was so awesome. And I don't know if that's something
There's
in the
no more
book.
yellow on the costume. It's only the black and blue. Like, we haven't got the full black and blue suit yet, as we were assuming that we were going to get because of the way that the season intro has been happening. But he did end in just black and blue, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like in his mind, I think, because even when he puts on the regular suit later in the episode, when he's sort of flying around and he's looking at Amber and everything, he's not feeling himself. He's not feeling any of this. He is scared of who he can become, and he doesn't want to be that. He knows that it's time for a change. He's got to make some changes.
And I think that's one of the sort of shortcomings of having to split the season into two is the whole thing with Mark not wanting to be his dad. Kind of, you kind of forget about that kind of stuff because when we come back, like he's back with his dad.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like you kind of, if you binge watch this, that'll be fresh in your mind.
I think this season would have benefited from just running all the way through for 8 weeks, 8 weeks of episodes. And I am sure that there was reasons why they wanted to take that break, but there was nothing on TV that they needed to get out of the way of. Amazon didn't have any other releases in that period of time. They really could have finishing. Maybe
scoring,
something,
finishing things up, editing. I don't know. But I mean,
but they do
whatever reason why they needed.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Whatever the reason was why they needed more time to get these 4 out, I'm fine with, because the episodes.
I'm glad
really
they took
quality.
It because yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
but I think now for people who have been waiting for the season to finish, it'll feel great just watching them all.
Yeah,
it's good.
I know it over at. I have no notes, but I know it over at Heroes Reforged. My buddy Hector. And then his co-host Augustine and Adam. Is it Adam? Shit. I don't know if it's Adam. I fucked up. Anyway, it's Adam. I'm just doubting myself. It's stupid. But they kind of started doing their season rewatch leading up to today. Cool. So they get to kind of
go through it all,
binge it, and I'm very excited to see their reactions of the finale, which should drop today or tomorrow. We need to get Hector on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If you guys know Hector Navarro, he's awesome.
He's a movie trivia showdown legend of old.
Yeah,
yeah, he's great. Yeah. I was most excited when the Previously On started, and they showed the mummy from season 1, that character that we've referenced a lot as just what the hell are they doing? What is this? This is just an open plot thread that we don't know what's going to happen. It's not from the books. It's just a weird side story that opened an episode, episode 2 or 3, maybe? It opened that episode and then was never seen again.
I skipped the Previously On.
Okay.
So I was very excited. I was very excited when it cut to Egypt. Or wherever it is.
I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been skipping it. I feel like it might help Stevie a bit. But I've since the days of Lost, sometimes it could be a spoiler on what content's going to show up.
Yeah.
And so hearing that the mummy stuff was in there, I'm glad I skipped it.
I think you and I are in the same boat in terms of, for us, watching a Previously On can be a spoiler, because you see a character, using Lost as the perfect analogy. You see some backstory of Sawyer and some of the cons that he's running, and you see Cassidy and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, okay, so Cassidy's probably going to be in this episode. We're getting a Sawyer episode, right. Probably going to.
You're like, wait, it's a Kate episode.
Yeah.
Why is?
But, I wonder why we're being told about that character or reminded about that character. But
yeah, that's also, exactly the example I was thinking in my head.
It's so weird, so weird. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, you and I, we feel like that because we are so deep. We're watching these things so deeply. Liz watches Lost with us at the moment, and when that comes on, and when Cassidy pops back up in that episode, she's like, "Oh, what? That's her from that episode." Like it's done exactly what it should do, which is like
Right.
just go, you know this stuff. Just
Right.
it's a little remember.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Even though I've read the book, I still want to be surprised.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
And
That's I mean,
I don't remember this mummy in the book,
I don't at
but
all.
it
If it
definitely feels like a Kirkman
joke,
thing where he would set up little tiny one-page stories that are like, I guess he'll pay it off at some point. I'll just
yeah,
keep on reading and just it'll be in the back of my mind. So it's like the perfect example of a brand new one of those.
it's the garbage bag into the air.
Yeah.
It's all of those, and yeah, there's tons of them throughout the books. This is one that I think is original for the show, but it's makes it so true. It makes it feel so true to
Yeah.
Invincible because we're used to this sort of gag. Whereas I'm sure there will probably be people complaining about like, what the hell was the point of that? We got like a 2-3 minute scene with Chloe Bennett
What
as one of the voices, but it's like because it's funny because they set it up, and if you've watched, you're going, oh yeah, I wonder what's going to happen there. Is that going to be a big bad guy? No, the scientists that go and discover this thing, and one of them has powers and can lift things really heavy, and like
the
no, they just buried his head because Mark was flying really fast over the head.
so like going back to Lost, people would complain that they would bring things up and never resolve them.
Mm.
And Kirkman in the book said there was a couple things that he brought up that he forgot to resolve.
Yeah.
And by the time he thought about it was too late. So they're just like these things that are out there. And so for him to put one of these in season 1, like I don't know how many people are really like wondering about this mummy. Like when it showed up in this episode, how many people like casual viewers like remember that?
Yeah.
We want to know because we know how Kirkman works because he's going to do this. It was the beginning of season 1 and now the very end of season 2.
Great.
Like, where are we going to pick up this mummy?
Yeah.
In like
I'm assuming that he had this.
Season?
I think maybe. I think he had this gag in mind all the way through. It's a nothing burger of
it's
a.
Probably it's a one-page story,
mm-hmm.
and they've shown us the first 2 panels.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing with like Science Dog in the book.
Yeah.
Science Dog, they would do a short story of Science Dog. I think every 10 issues,
something like
there'd
that.
be a Science Dog
early on as well. They sort of did stop those after a while, but
yeah. So it's like that.
Yeah,
like there's gonna be a full story eventually, but it's so funny.
It won't really matter or mean anything. But that's the great part of it. It'll be such a side thing that is just there to deliver a joke.
It's the Earthworm Jim catapulting the clown, the cow in the first, level.
Yeah,
and then it being like a post-credit scene.
Yeah,
in the game, I think, or it's
part something of like that. Right?
Ending.
Yeah,
it shows up at the end. But it was like cow launched, like they made a big deal, but it's like, what does it have to do with anything? So I think the mummy, I feel like he's got a full mummy story in mind, and he's like, I'm gonna milk this thing over the course of, I don't know, 6 seasons,
however long we get, and it can cut off at any point. Like every time that we get an end of it, it's like that could be an end. That's fine. If we never come back to it, it's fine because, and I like that with a book that was. It's weird calling it a slice of life story because it's superheroes and it's big action, but we followed these characters for so long over such a long period of time that we saw them grow and we saw them evolve, and we're doing the same with the show. Like that's an amazing thing. They haven't condensed the show. They are letting the show breathe. And so life isn't always wrapped up. Storylines aren't always wrapped up. Things don't resolve neatly.
Yeah.
Things just happen sometimes.
Like where's John Hamm?
Yeah. Where is John Hamm?
Where is John Hamm?
Yeah. There's always things like that. What are the whispers? Like I know that there's the things like that they're not wrapped up in the show unless you really look for it. But I'm sure context. That everyone, there's context clues, and it's the equivalent of that. It's like not everything needs a nice little bow on it.
Yeah, but I really like this mummy thing. I'm glad it came back because I've kind of been asking it like every, I don't know, the third
We got a
episode of
name
the
for it
show.
this time as well.
I didn't
It
even know
was
this.
he's I think he's like bow before, and then I did the X-ray thing. It's
Okay.
Kahor, K-A-H-O-R. Yeah. So we've got a name for Kahor
I'm
the
sure that's
Mummy.
a joke. Yeah, I'm
Probably,
sure that's a joke.
probably. It was
Uh,
Clancy
uh,
Brown did the voice as well. I can't remember if he did in season 1,
oh, great.
but yeah, yeah.
I'm
You've
pretty
got
sure I heard
Clancy Brown.
Mark Hamill was one of the or one of the Velociraptors. The one that
Oh,
sounded
I
like
did pause it. I didn't write it down. I don't
Skeletor.
think it was. Don't think it was Mark though. It
Really?
was. It was 3 people that we've seen that have been in done voices in the show and even in this
Yeah.
episode. But I'm
Probably Chris
fairly certain.
Diamantopoulos might be one of them.
I
He
would
seems to
be.
do a lot
Yeah,
of like extra stuff.
yeah.
Um,
I can't remember. I
uh,
can't remember. I didn't write them down. Uh,
that's fine. There's
Sterling K.
IMDb.
Brown though, I did, and I was like, sterling performance because when he's
Yeah.
in the house, like when he's going kind of crazy and he's losing it, and even before he starts seeing all the ways, like his versions in different dimensions and stuff,
Yeah.
when he is building up and he's staying calm and menacing, and then just goes nuts and just like screams at Mark, it's brilliant. It's what you want from a scary hostage situation bad guy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that is kind of how this plays out. It's not a big, massive fight because he knows that in a fight he'll lose, and he does. He gets his ass handed to him. But it's a hostage situation. I'm gonna be the most threatening person that I can be.
Yeah. That the whole, I think the Angstrom Levy stuff in the show plays better than the comic. I was never a fan. I was
No.
never really a big fan of Angstrom Levy. It was just one of those things where I'm like,
I
it reminded me
like
of
the
Hector
way
Hammond,
yeah.
which
The
was never my
head.
favorite Green Lantern villain.
No.
Yeah,
Or the leader from Hulk stuff. It's like similar sort of thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's I like how it was wrapped up. I like that it seems like it's had a bow tied on it. Obviously, we've still got multiple dimensions, and we know that a lot of those dimensions have bad marks in them. But
yeah.
so there's that is still out there, but the Angstrom Levy of it is wrapped up, and again wrapped up in the same way. Like I can't believe we didn't really sort of think of it being this way. Like we were sort of predicting some
Yeah.
Invincible War stuff, but it's like that does come later. This is how Angstrom meets his end in the books. It's yeah, just get beaten to a pulp.
I really feel like the way things are going, the show seems to be doing well. Amazon says it's #1 on their shows right now, or whatever. Who knows?
It was like the number 2 streaming show on like across everything recently or
Yeah,
something.
the numbers are all whatever. I have no idea. If
It's yeah, streamers can say whatever they want with their numbers. They're always in play.
Like they're like, we want to make sure that this show gets promoted now, so we'll just
Yeah.
say it's #1 and people will go look at it. I have no idea how that works. But the way things are going, especially with the robot or the Rudy and Monster Girl storyline, it sounds like they're ready to just do the whole book.
It feels that
sounds
way.
like they're ready to just be like, okay, we'll
And
give you
things like
to do it.
Kate coming back and like it plays out. I think I don't know why in the book I assumed that Immortal knew that Kate wasn't really dead.
I think so too, but it was very clear that it wasn't in this one.
I think they retired. They were just like, nah, we're good. We're just gonna bug out. Or at least personally they did that. Whereas in this, it was like no, there's some weight to this. Like he was going to just leave, but decided, no, I need to stay because I love him and we want to be together.
Yeah. And that's the thing is she says she was tired of dying. Like it's crazy. They brought it up earlier in the season that she feels every one of those deaths.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of them and they were not pleasant deaths.
No. So yeah, this is something you theorize that she had a Kate Prime hidden somewhere, and yeah, it came true. Again, yeah, it's not something in the book. We do know that they go off and live in the cabin.
Yeah.
A log cabin, of course.
Yeah, of course. Home built.
Lincoln Logs.
Yep.
So I'm happy, but I mean, still, the thing is, it's not like the normal comic book thing where characters just come back. They find the stupidest ways for characters to come back. I don't think it diminishes the fact that the Lizard League didn't kill any of the Guardians. Even though Kate got obliterated, Ray got digested, and Rex got shot in the head.
Yeah.
Like, they're all okay. I mean, maybe not mentally, but they're all alive. And they're all on the mend.
But they are all vulnerable. Like, they all can be got, and the Lizard League were definitely scarier in this than they were ever had been. Like, they were more of a threat than they ever had been before in the show or in the books.
I didn't think Debbie or Oliver were going to die, but it's still
a couple of moments. It was a couple of moments.
It still made me think, like, Kirkman's definitely having fun with the book fans.
Yeah.
Because he's making it seem like he could pull the rug out from under us at any point.
It was the Sandra Oh performance as well. When she's talking to Mark, she catches Oliver and she's like talking to Mark at some point, and it's like, oh, are they gonna kill her? Like, is this gonna be they're gonna do a change here? But they didn't. I'm glad they didn't. There was a
so
shot early when
the show. I love it.
When he drops Oliver the first time, and she catches him the first time.
Yeah.
And then it, like, his head hits the floor. And it's like, it's such a small moment, but that's a toddler. And his head just smacked on the head, like on the floor like that. And it's like, oh, it wasn't bloody. It wasn't gory. It wasn't like a smack. It wasn't over exaggerated. But because of that, it felt more impactful and it made me wince. Like, it was harsh.
Yeah, we know he's Viltrumite. I was waiting for him to do something for some reason.
Throw a punch or something. Yeah.
I was just like, oh boy, is this how it's gonna be? It's
Baby
like
saves the day. Yeah. No.
It's like going to see Godzilla Kong, the new Empire. I'm like, are we gonna have to deal with this fucking cute little Kong baby?
Yeah.
And then, spoilers, like, the funniest shit
uses the nunchuck.
Oh, did you go see it?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've listened to a couple of reviews.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So I'm like, oh,
that alone has made me go, all right, I'll go see it.
They put the cute thing in it, and then they're like, but that's not how we're playing it. This guy's a real piece of shit. So, but I was like, Kirkman's doing it right. Or when I say Kirkman, I mean he's overseeing things, but everybody involved with the show, because it's more than just Kirkman. Kirkman is like is overseeing this stuff, and
I mean, Kirkley, Otley, and Walker are that all three of them are so heavily involved with all of this, which is great to see.
But what's great is Cecil says later that Oliver didn't have a scratch on him, showing that he is invincible or becoming invincible.
We got a few hints with Oliver this week. He's unique. He's not been encountered in any of the other dimensions. Which I found really interesting, because that, I think, is a change, if I remember rightly.
So let me ask you, okay, so Angstrom says that there's other Debbies.
Yeah.
In
like more than half of them. A lot of the Debbies have sided, but in more than half of these dimensions, Mark's identity is known, it's public knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's why, you find that, and then you can find Debbie, and then that's how he's managed to do that.
Yeah. It is crazy that this is the one dimension where I guess it all comes down to Mark. It all comes down to Mark defying his dad. It sounds like the rest of the Marks are like, kind of like, oh, okay, cool, sounds fine. But for some reason, because this Mark stood up to his dad, it made Nolan talk about Debbie and made Debbie stronger.
Yeah.
So Mark is linchpin to the family dynamic.
I mean, he's invincible, but it's like, it's the trickle of everything. So, like, without that, Nolan might not have left, or if he did leave, he might have gone and just been a conqueror again or something like that. But he went, and he's already starting to feel that remorse. And then he had a kid because he was opening himself up to being more compassionate again.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to Thraxa or wherever it was to conquer. He went to settle down. He went to go and die personally, but like
Well,
is the
yeah,
way
he
he.
went to to jump into a
Um,
black hole.
yeah, but they didn't let him do it. So seeing this is like, yeah, Mark and the way that he did it, and I'm sure that there are other dimensions where he stood up to him and then died, like and didn't get
Yeah,
through, didn't get that message through that I'd
yeah,
still have you, Dad, like that line or something like that, or whatever it was that tipped a Nolan over.
yeah.
And I
I
mean,
I
we're
wish he
crediting it
could
all
have gone.
to Mark, but I mean, I'm sure that this Debbie had a lot to do that as well. Like
Yeah.
he says at the end, like his thing that he's feeling more than anything is I miss my wife.
Oh man, that was such a good for as far as like the finale of season 1
What an
was
arc for
Nolan
just
flying off into
what
space.
4 episodes worth of content, really, that I'd say that we got of Nolan. Not much this season,
Yeah.
but already I'm like, I, I'll accept you back, and I think it's going to be
Yeah.
slower for other characters. I feel like Mark's got there a bit quick, but he still is scared of who that guy can be,
Does
as we see a lot
Angstrom
in this.
does Angstrom do this much damage to Debbie in the books? Do they
I
even are
don't.
they
They're
no.
there. There is a hostage situation. There's like it's hold up, but
So for me,
I don't think so.
what I like about this episode, and Stevie brought it up, was they all have matching shiners. They all have their
Yeah.
right eyes all shut. Debbie, Mark, and Nolan.
Well, they're
Um,
professional wrestlers. They work the left because if you start working the right, no, they work the right. Sorry, because you start working the left, that's just a bit of a shoot fight.
sure.
I don't know. I think that's an old rumor that they'd always just sort of work the left if they were pretending to do stuff.
I feel like what Egstrom did, and the scene where they're in at the hospital at the Pentagon, and they're in the bed, and she's got the shiner, he's got the shiner, uh, and she asks him if it's over,
Mm.
and Mark says yes. This feels like the first time Debbie has firsthand seen the type of people that Mark is going up against and the type of people that Nolan went
Nolan,
up against.
yeah,
And so I feel like what's great about this is while you get the quiet moments in the show where they're just sitting there laying in bed together,
or up on the
Mark being
roof.
the small spoon, or up on the roof. But what you're getting is you're getting like these moments where you think about, you know, maybe Debbie now has a better sense of what Nolan went through.
Yeah,
And it's not like, oh, she's gonna forgive him right away, but it's scenes like this that let you know that she knows what now firsthand
yeah,
what Mark goes through and what he has to do to stop some of these guys. Like he was doing everything in his power to reason with Angstrom.
yeah.
He
He
was
really
doing
tried.
everything in his
Really tried.
power to punch him and
Yeah,
getting thwarted by. And she saw him just being persistent and just going and going and going
won't
to the
quit.
point where it's probably like, oh, this life sucks.
Mm.
Like I know Nolan would come back and tell these stories, but Nolan didn't have any emotions. And so he would come back and tell these grand stories and he'd write in his books of these grand space adventures. She never really got the real side from him of what it was
And
really like doing this
it's
job.
the Superman conundrum as well. It's like it's an off day. Like Nolan would
Yeah.
take off days sometimes. Like,
Mhm.
and you think about what that's like, and it's like you've got to be a little bit callous to be able to do that. I think it's important, and I think they all should, and that's the reason they've got teams. But it's you take an off day and people die because there's always
Yeah.
this stuff going on. And Mark hasn't. Mark is he's the epitome of good, and so he's just on all the time. It cost him
Yeah.
his relationship. It's cost him his college career, like or whatever you want to describe it. And I think that was interesting as well when they were up on the roof and Mark says, "I'm going to quit college." At first, the mother instinct comes out. It's like, no, 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 that's your
Right,
future.
right.
That's your future. But then it's like, as soon as he sort of lays it out, and as soon as she realizes, like, he's right. Like, when he can do all of
He's
this stuff, what's the fucking point in going to college?
yeah, he's gonna
Like,
be a
it's
dentist.
yeah, yeah. it's it doesn't make any sense, and he does have that responsibility. So
Yeah. And
it's
she's seen the
tough.
responsibility firsthand. Like he's what, 19?
Yeah, something like yeah.
And he's
If he's
going through
what
this shit.
freshman, yeah.
Like she watched him deal with this,
Mm.
you know,
And
and he had a black eye from
yeah.
this fight. She's seen him in worse.
Oh
So if
yeah,
this is what he went through just to get a black eye, what is he gone through where he was like, well, she knows Nolan.
battered and bloodied. Yeah,
Like I can't even. I think it's funny, like because Invincible, like he doesn't get brain damage. His head is too strong, and his head gets
yeah.
caved in and punched. And if things shake out like they do in the book, I mean, there's a point where like his brains are all jacked up.
It's just mush.
But
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
so strong that it doesn't come apart, and he's stuck with
It's
all these memories. It's almost
it's
like
a healing
Angstrom.
factor as well. He does have a healing factor in
Yeah.
there that like it helps.
But he's just got all of these memories of all of this bad, horrible shit.
I mean,
Again, I'm going to
he
mention
doesn't get
Heroes
brain damage.
Reforged.
Yeah, go on.
They keep mentioning the show as like, let's watch the trauma show, and it's like nonstop trauma. This
And
show is nonstop
the
trauma.
back half of this episode is full trauma. It's like we say that he
Yeah,
doesn't have any like brain damage or anything like that, but my God, his emotional trauma and the weight on him is so heavy. He is. It's almost as much as season one, just because he
yeah,
is really, really feeling it, and he doesn't know. He's at a crossroads. Knows that he needs to get stronger. He needs to get better, but he's also scared of what he is very, very capable of. And when he says to
yeah,
Angstrom, I've never let loose before. Like I've always been holding back. You don't have no idea how much I've been holding back. And
yeah,
he's just powering up and leveling up like constantly. And
yeah,
that scares him to no end because he knows that it wouldn't take much to tip him into bad Viltrumite territory.
yeah. The title of this episode, I thought you were stronger. Uh, Going into it, I assumed it was Angstrom saying that to Invincible. No, it's Mark saying it to Angstrom. Like it's
But
his
you could have
immediate
taken
regret
more
was,
of a punch. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's brutal. It's
Mm.
rough. And this
But
is like the only time we don't see actual like a face getting caved
yeah,
in.
yeah. They cut away from
And
it.
so it's like they're essentially like this is the most horrific thing that we would have shown, and
Mm.
it's too much for
This
us to
is
even
even too
show,
much for this
which
show.
makes us think like,
The
"Oh
stomp
crap!" It
show.
makes it
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the other read of that, I thought you were stronger is like anyone to Mark is like I thought you were emotionally stronger. I thought you could deal with this a lot more.
yeah.
I
The
think
scene
this
with
yeah.
Cecil saying, you know, the bad guys died, the good guys lived. It's a good
Cecil was
day.
great in this episode. This was like
He
the most good guy Cecil's ever seemed, I think, was this episode.
that's Cecil to a nutshell. And a lot of people say, you know, they don't trust Cecil. Cecil wants things to be okay.
Yeah.
The only thing with Cecil is he'll do anything to do it. So
It's Nick
killing
Fury.
someone else,
Yeah.
hey, okay, cool, fine, whatever. The
Yeah.
bad guy's dead. He's like, that's what it should be, is the bad guy should be dead. And Mark's like, the bad guys should be incapacitated.
They're people. Like yeah.
Yeah.
They're still
Yeah.
people. He would have loved to have been able to talk when he realized who Angstrom was. Because at first he had no idea. He just thought he was just another psycho with a big brain. But when he realized, oh, you're that dude from that warehouse with the Muller twins. Like what?
When he said, you're that guy,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, yeah, you're that guy. And Angstrom's just like, that guy.
Set him off.
Yeah.
Like it's the Mad Men. You think about me all day, every day, blah 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 blah. I don't think about you at all. And it's the most insulting thing you can say to someone who is fixated and like just have no idea who they are.
It's Jacob talking to Ben in Lost. Again, another
Yeah,
Lost reference where he says, "What about you?" It's that, and
we
yeah, it
see we
was
see how
rough
that plays out in that show. So it's
the same way.
yeah,
Rage,
yeah,
rage and
yeah.
death. But
Uh-huh.
um Angstrom's feels more sympathetic. Like he's just been kind of a threat, and we know that he's had all the memories of every single Angstrom pushed into one brain, into
Mm.
his brain. Seeing those different representations of Mark
Yeah,
and Steven Yeun's performances on all those Marks
yeah.
was pretty chilling.
Oh,
It
the
sounded,
black and yellow with the cape, like that one is
yeah,
it's haunting. Yeah, it's
the one
scary.
where he has all the people just lined up and he's
Oh,
just decapitating all of
yeah.
them. It's
It
like brutal, and Angstrom's just sitting there waiting. It's
feels
fucked
like
up.
firing line against the wall, but the Viltrumite version, it's
Yeah.
so fucked.
So
But
it makes you be
he's
it
always
makes
the
you think.
one at the end. Like he's
Yeah,
always the last one, and we don't ever see that one go. It's that
because he
it's
needs the
such a
memory. He
waste.
needs them to sit and get the memories of the thing, because the Angstrom that we're following probably popped right in, grabbed him before
Yeah.
Invincible cut his head off. Because we saw some of that at the beginning of the season.
Hmm.
Um, it the thing that sucks about it is that Mark can never prove to that Angstrom that he doesn't kill. That he's really a good guy. His mom tried to reason with him. Mark tried to reason with him,
Mm.
and it just didn't work out. And that's what bums me out is that Angstrom, like it would have been great
Died.
if that Angstrom
He
he knew like, okay, he's not,
he
this is
kind
the
of
one
died
that's better.
vindicated. Like in his mind.
Yeah, it's like the ending of Seven.
Yeah, yeah. It's exactly the ending of Seven. It's like, yep, that is exactly what I thought of you, and I'm kind of not surprised that you
Yeah.
ended it this way. It's
And we know he's better, and we wish it would have gone different. But also, like, I feel bad for that Angstrom because it's not his fault. Because the way Sterling K. Brown plays it, the way it's animated, you could see him trying to fight it. You could see him listening to Debbie and what Debbie's saying
hmm
and being like, as soon as he says, "Oh, Oliver, he's not in any of the other things." Debbie, you usually side with Omni Man. There's definitely something. There's definitely something different, and you could see him kind of being like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this
yeah,
is the one dimension that's right,
mm.
and the other memories start just overtaking it.
Blooding
And so
in,
you
yeah,
feel bad for him because you're like, he's not fully in control of what he's doing. And it sucks because you really want in any other thing, in any other show, in any other movie or comic, Mark would have proved to the bad guy that he's good
yep,
and he would have let the bad guy win. And the bad guy would have learned to cope with these other things and become a good guy. It's
mm.
like a Fast and Furious thing. Like the bad guy always becomes a good guy. Like that's how it should be, and that's how it should be in this
Doc
story.
Ock, like Doc Ock in the Spider-Man movies
Unfortunately,
and stuff like that. It's yeah,
unfortunately, it's it's it, yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. It sucks for Angstrom. It sucks for Mark. It
mm,
just is just it's just horrible.
mm.
Um, speaking of Spider-Man,
What a great yeah. Should we talk
Doc
about
Ock.
some of the dimension hopping? We talked
Yes,
about some of the down stuff because there was a lot of downers in this
yeah,
episode, but there was a lot of fun things scattered through. So yeah, fun with portals.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I like the Spider-Man design. I guarantee you
that's
it's
cool.
Otley. I bet you that's
Yeah,
an Otley design
yeah.
because it's 100 like they probably had to run it through legal. What can we do to make sure this isn't Spider-Man? And
Agent
there's
Spider, they called him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Appears in Invincible, the real Spider-Man? Is there a Spider-Man Invincible crossover or have I just seen
I
Ryan
don't think
Ottley
there's a
draw it
crossover. There might be like a panel,
heavily
like a
hinted?
gag. Yeah,
I know the Batman thing is a thing
yeah,
in the book.
yeah. You.
Yeah,
So wait, you dressed as a bat and you call yourself, and then the cutaway.
he's
Great
like
gag.
kind of lazy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the zombie stuff. Was it was fine.
Walking Dead, yep, zombies, fine.
Yeah.
Again, they lean heavier in the book. Like you actually, I think you see Rick and Michonne and things like that.
Yeah. Talking dinosaurs. Let's talk
That's the
about
one.
talking
That's the
dinosaurs.
one. That
So for us book readers, we're excited because we know there's some
smart dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Yeah. Season 3, we get dinosaurs.
I hope so. It
We have to.
might not be the big bad, but I hope that we get him. I hope that he's in there. In the same way that we saw Battle Beast in season 1 and we saw
Yeah.
like Titan and like all of those guys in season 1, like they'll be back. We'll see those guys again, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
I like that dimension. I like that dimension because it was essentially Planet of the Apes.
Mm.
It wasn't like he went to an ancient world.
No, they
It
didn't get
was
to the past.
humans died
That was
out.
Nail. Yeah.
And the fact that they said he talks was totally Taylor from Planet of the Apes. So it's like Planet of the Dinosaurs. And now I want a Planet of the Dinosaurs something. Give me a Planet of the Dinosaurs book.
Give me a one shot at least. Like, give me an Otley one shot.
Yeah.
It'd be good fun.
The exact same story or something similar, but it's dinosaurs instead of apes.
But they said like they couldn't remember. Like they've had human before. They'd eaten human before, but they couldn't remember. Like it'd been a while. So it's like yeah, all right. Humans have died off, but like not that. Like they've been around forever.
Yeah.
Didn't want to eat him because he talks. That's great.
So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm going to say Dinosaurus, the character named Dinosaurus, will show up in season 3 of Invincible, and
I like it.
We'll get a call back to one of Amber and Mark's first dates after he was known as Invincible. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
And will be a recurring person if they do the full book, because like sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes somewhere in the middle, like working with, working against. Like it's a great character, a really great character that really has no right being as good as it is, because it's a talking dinosaur. It's a talking dinosaur scientist. I'll just tell you that. Like it's
oh man, I can't wait.
He's the best.
I'm calling it season 3.
Cool.
I'm calling it season 3. Yeah. I feel like that's a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
If we do Invincible War, if we're getting into more dimension stuff.
Yep. We get the Oliver growing up a bit more. Meanwhile, like we can have Alan and Omni-Man doing all of their stuff.
Oh my god, dude.
But like they don't need to rush through it. It really feels like they're not going to rush through it.
I know. I think the beginning of season 3, the opening, the cold open, will be
an escape. Yeah.
The big action.
When this episode opened, I thought they were rushing through, and I thought we were just going to cut all of their bonding in prison and just get them escaping, because we were seeing it through like the dust and the clouds and everything. And I thought I heard like Seth Rogen in there as well, but it wasn't. It was all just J.K. Simmons, and it was Omni-Man fighting to sort of prove that he's ready to be executed.
Those two guys walking through the hall, and Alan using his telepathy to talk was so good, so amazing. Does that happen? I don't know if that happens in the book.
Yeah, I think it does.
It's super effective in this. It's so great, because like fans of the show, if you're a new fan of the show, even if you haven't read the book, by this point, you should definitely be in love with Alan by now.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you're Alan, not, then you just put the book down. Yeah.
Alan. So just watching them walk up the hall and he says talk soon. Was so good. It gave me goosebumps, because it's like, oh yeah, they could talk to each other without anyone knowing. And it's
Yep.
so great. And it is funny that they're talking to each other uh, telepathically from their different cells, like from like
Yeah.
cells over.
Like
They're not in
opposite
the same
or
cell.
wherever they are. Yeah.
But Nolan says, I miss my wife out loud, not to Alan,
Yeah.
mentally. So it's like he's come to this realization where it's
It's an
like a real thing.
admission.
He's saying it out loud.
Yeah. He's owning it. It's this is my mission statement now, essentially. It's yeah.
Fuck, this show is so good.
it's
I used to tell
it's
people
not a
all the time.
cartoon. It's not played like a cartoon. It's not
No.
made, it's not paced. And it's not paced like a superhero thing. It is an hour-long drama. Like it's paced
Yeah.
like any like Lost or any other sort of genre hour-long drama that we've all loved for a long, long time. That is what this show is. It just happens to be animated and have
Yeah.
people that can fly.
I
Yeah.
remember back in 2008, I was working at a comic book shop. I think you were too.
Yep.
And people would come in and they'd want something new. And like people would come in and said, "Oh, I don't really read anything. Is there anything you can recommend?" And I would always say Invincible. I
Yep.
said, just grab this first trade. It's like, what was it, like $9.99 or something for
Oh,
that
it's
first
cheap.
trade?
They did
Yeah.
them. I think it was $7.50. I think dollars because,
Yeah.
or it might no, it was
And
$9.99 for US because it was $7.50 for
yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be one of those things where I'm like, this is the beginning of the book. And you don't have to worry about, this was at the time. I'm like, you only have like 5 years to catch up, as opposed to Spider-Man, who's been around since the 60s,
Yeah.
and Batman, who's been around since the 30s.
At that point,
Like,
what, maybe
it's the easiest.
9 trades, I'd say, in 2008,
Yeah.
2009, 8 or 9
Yeah.
trades tops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great
I
seeing
mean,
those people come back and grab like 3 more.
Tristan, who I don't know if he's watching live. He's one of my friends who he was a customer at the shop. That is how I met Tristan.
Oh,
And he would always come in and we got friendly at the shop and he asked me for recommendations. Invincible was one of them. It'd be one of those books that I'd put the first one in his hand. And then it was because of things like that he used to come in and not even look at what was on the shelf. He'd just be like,
yeah.
what shall I buy? I could just put a stack of books in his hand and he'd do that. And he is one of many people who I'm close friends with to this day who had that. And Invincible is always one of those books that
Right.
the only people that I wouldn't is if they really, really hated anything superhero. And they're, you're in a comic book shop, there's not many of those people. There are a few, but there's not many.
Yeah. What's funny is we met in probably 2009.
It was, yeah.
You listened to a podcast about Lost that I used to do.
Yeah.
Didn't
Amongst
really
many other podcasts as well.
Yeah. Like I of course Invincible came up because we were at a comic convention, and like that's all I was talking about back then was Green Lantern and Invincible.
I think I'd heard you talk about it probably on the show, and so I was like, oh sweet, this is a book that we both read. Yep.
Yeah, and so it was one of those things, and I think on the show I might have suggested it to Ben, and Ben got into it, and we did a lot of talk about Invincible, maybe on off shows and stuff. But it was one of those things where 13 years later or something, they announced this show, and you sent me a DM on Instagram. You're like, dude, they're doing an Invincible show. And I was so excited that like 30 minutes later I had secured a domain across the board, and I'm like, I'm doing a podcast about it, because what people are finding out with this show, which is a very, very good show, and I think it's better in some ways than the book. Maybe it's not as fleshed out, but I think that the differences are better. The changes that they have made are for the better.
It's
the way they're handling Debbie, handling Amber,
handling Mark and his grief
Rex
in this episode.
Everything.
The way that Mark's struggles are, it's coming from a more mature place. It's coming from a 40-something Robert Kirkman and team who have grown up, and the world has matured. We can talk about mental health crises and things like that a lot easier than we could 20 years ago. And this show is doing that. It's grown with it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, this is why I recommended it so many years ago. So the fact that people are loving this show, that
Mm,
people are finding it, I see just a ton of reaction videos. Even today, I saw like when I was setting up the studio for our stream, I saw like 4 or 5 reaction videos already
yeah,
out there for this
great.
episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow! Like,
Ringiverse, the
who knew there
Ringiverse,
would ever
they
be?
put their episodes up straight away. Like they're out
Yeah,
like 9 a.m. my time, which is two
who would
hours
have ever
after the show.
thought that Invincible would be a thing?
And
I had
it's
maybe
like,
like 5 I maybe had like 5 Invincible friends where
yeah.
we would just say, "Man, it's so good."
I mean, we've both talked about this as well. It wasn't a big seller. Like the single issues wasn't.
Yeah,
They weren't big sellers in the shop when I was there.
yeah,
Um, Trades did a lot better because people were getting into it later, so it was just how they decided. But yeah, we
yeah,
never had many for the shelf, like half a dozen tops. Um,
yeah.
and but that maturity is and the quality has always been there, but giving it a second pass, it's
And
just
more people to
yeah,
write this stuff, like, more people to
yeah,
like, Kirkman I think Kirkman has great ideas,
hmm,
and he's very funny. He's got his comics are very, very funny,
yeah,
and he comes up with really, really fun characters. There's a billion characters in Invincible, and they all have goofy pun names, but it makes you remember them. The humor is good. Uh, uh, and he does good fights. He's Otley and Walker do great action. It's the perfect pairing.
yeah,
But now with other people coming in, they can finesse that. They could
yeah,
take that Kirkman, like, because Kirkman, when you read his books, because he'll throw in like a mummy story, maybe, like it feels like he's frantic. There's
yeah,
definitely a frantic nature to the book. And this feels like he got a writer's room and they were able to take all these ideas and sort of focus it and be like,
hmm,
okay, but if this really happened to someone, this is how they would feel. And it's like,
mm,
oh, now we're injecting character into this stuff and what the thought process and what people are going through and what Mark's going through. Mark pretty much going crazy in that other dimension in the wasteland says to himself, why am I saying this out loud instead of just
yeah,
internalizing it?
yeah.
A, because it's a
It's
television
a TV
medium.
show, yeah, and he's the
But
only one there.
B, like, and in a comic, you would just have not the
Thought
speech
bubbles,
bubbles, but the thought, either the thought
hmm,
bubbles or the text in the box.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it's still able to convey, like, he says it. Why am I saying it out loud? Is perfect because it's showing that he's not mentally all right.
no,
This
he
should be
is
something he's internalizing,
losing,
but he's trying to get his focus. And so, like, things like that, like, I've been in situations when I'm driving and something happens. I don't just think, oh man, that sucked. I'd like say, fuck, that
say it,
sucked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of help you. I guess there was some study that said if you say something out loud,
remember it,
it'll help you focus more
yeah,
than just thinking about I'm gonna do this first and then do this. But if you say that, it'll actually focus your brain a little bit more. Hearing it out loud. But
when we get speeding tickets in this country, if it's within 3 years, you get to do a driver's awareness course, instead of getting points on your license and getting, like, massive fines and things like that. And I've when I used to drive for a living, and so I've done my fair share of these things. It used to be an almost regular appointment every 3 years. Um, and one thing that I'll always remember is with those, it's the same shit every time you do it. But one thing that did stick with me is, like, the way that they're like, if you're focusing, if you need to focus, if you're trying to remember stuff like that, it's like, just say what you see as you're driving around. Like, just start saying, like, sign, lamppost, person, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it does make you focus. Like, it's
yeah,
a weird thing to talk out loud and make you think. That's weird. Like, why are you crazy? It's the old sort of way of thinking, but it's like, nah,
yeah,
probably not. It's probably the opposite.
yeah. It's probably the comic had a version of this which had
I'm sure it did. I can see it's a
thought
big wide
boxes.
shot, sort of looking
Yeah.
down. And yeah, it was
all the
thought
thought
bullets.
boxes going in.
Yeah.
And then in this, they're like, well, we can't do thought bullets, but are we just going to have him talk out loud? And then,
Mm.
yeah, but we'll bring it up because he's in a bad state. So of course he would be talking through. So
He's going to
they
address
bring
it.
it up. Yeah. So it's nice that they're just like, I don't know. It's just good. It's good. I like it. I like the way they're handling the show. I was concerned after season 1 if they would come back and it would still be the same quality. I feel like the quality's gone up.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I feel like if they just kind of stick to the bones of what Kirkman did with the book and Otley and Walker,
Yep.
um,
It's a,
they're good to go.
it's
If they,
perfect.
I don't think
Perfect.
I don't
Like,
I know they
yeah.
can stick the land. If they stick to what they did in the comics, they can stick the landing of the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to be so easy for them to just make things even better than in the book. And I'm sticking with this show as traumatic as it is,
Yeah.
as every character has their own issues. I'm sticking with the show because I know how it ends. I know
Yeah.
how a
And that
lot of these characters come out on
it
the other
does
side,
stick it.
and it's ultimately it's a story of hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you if you know no matter what trouble you're in, there's
It's
always Alan.
very hope punk. It's very I am gonna
Yeah,
get beaten down, beaten down, beaten down. But it doesn't matter. No matter how badly everything looks and feels, still gonna freaking try because I'm not gonna roll over. I'm just not gonna roll over and take it. It's yeah,
here's the thing:
great.
the title of the show in each episode says Invincible, and it gets beat up and beat up. But underneath, there's a nice, crisp, clean one, and
Just
there's a restart. You can get through it
yeah.
if you just get through enough of it. You'll have a nice, clean slate. You'll be able to bounce back, and that's where we are now. We finally have seen.
Sometimes you don't feel invincible. You just feel like $1,000,000. I love that one this time.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
the one of my favorite needle drops as well because Weapon of Choice is a banger by Fatboy Slim.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I love it. If you had to choose between a Rexplode special this summer or Rexplode special this summer and Invincible back this year, or Invincible back not until next year, but also coming is a Astounding Wolfman spin-off, limited series maybe or something. Which
I
would you
mean,
choose?
I always want Astounding Wolfman,
Me too.
but I love the momentum of the show. I'm ready for more Invincible, so I'd probably go Rexplode. But
And
you know
hope
what's
that we get that
funny?
down the
So
line.
speaking, did you watch the League?
Yeah. I watched the
Show
league.
the League.
Mhm.
Remember, like every season they would do one episode with Jason Mantzoukas and
Yeah,
Seth Rogen's
and Seth
characters. It
Rogen.
would just
Yeah.
be it'd have nothing to do with
Uh-huh.
the League, like the other
Yeah.
people.
So
Like
them making
let's
a
get it.
porno or them yeah. Then they died.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So that's what
That
I
was my
want.
introduction. That was my introduction to Mantzoukas was that show.
Yeah. So can we get Alan Rexplode one shot?
I mean,
Like just those
I
two dudes?
yeah, let's do it. Like they could put that out. They could put that out as a special like comic at Comic-Con and not tell
Yeah.
anyone. And just like have it at the Skybound booth and just be like, oh yeah, no, Ryan did
Like just
this.
recreate the episode of the League where they're in that mansion. Recreate that
Was it
one. But it's
Dirty something or other? What's his name?
I don't remember. I watched
Dirty
the League
Randy.
once.
Is
I
it
forget.
Dirty Randy?
Yeah, something like that.
I think that's Seth Rogen's character is Dirty Randy. Yeah.
But just get those two, do that exact storyline, but it's Alan and Rex.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's it. I think that's gonna wrap us up for the episode.
I was so happy with it. I loved it.
It was
I loved
amazing.
it.
Season 2 was fantastic. The break in the middle was a shame, but if it wasn't going to be that quality without it, then take all the break you need.
Let's get an
please.
announcement soon on when season 3 is going to happen, and
Yep.
then let us know about season 4 and 5.
Yeah,
please.
like confirm them. Like I would take confirmation of 4 and 5 and then an announcement date at Comic-Con. of season 3.
Comic-Con is when? 3-4 months away?
July, yeah, end of July.
Yeah. 3 months?
Yeah,
Yeah, that
it's
seems
not
right.
long. Yeah.
Let's announce season 3 when.
Give it okay, I'd say give it 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks, and then you can give me one announcement, either a 4 and 5 or season 3 date. And then at Comic-Con, give me the other one. I want both those announcements in the next 3 months.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Cool.
Dude,
Yeah. This
I
is
love
great.
this show.
I don't know
It's
when we'll be
becoming
back.
my favorite show.
Yeah. I don't know when we'll
Yeah,
be
I
back.
don't know.
Well, I'm sure that we will do some more specials. Hopefully, we'll do more specials than we've been able to do. I feel like at the end of season 1, we did a couple, and then we were just like, we got nothing, guys. Like,
We'll go
we did
talk
our
about
reread
Star
of the
Wars.
books. Like, yeah, let's go talk about Star Wars for 3 years.
I think it would be fun just to do like bring on some guests. I'll book some guests. Maybe I'll talk to Hector and the guys at it is Adam at and Augustine over at Heroes Reforged. Maybe get them on, do a roundtable discussion, just talking about the show. Because I know they've read the books and people are complaining that they're talking too much about the books.
Oh, come on,
Because it's giving stuff away. So
bring
let's
that conversation over here.
like try to do a roundtable with them. Or I would love to get Adam and Jay from Previewed. Adam has read the books, Jay has not read the books, and they've been watching Invincible together, so it's a lot of fun. Get Vactor back on, maybe Mark Vibert from Animation Fascination. Let's just get Lucha Johnny back. Let's just get as many people, maybe some that aren't dudes again. We gotta
anyone who wants to anyone who wants to talk about Invincible, like it will give us an excuse to just chat about it. If you want to come and bring a specific topic about Invincible, like we could do that. We could do a focused episode about a character or a thing or something. But yeah, like until we know how long this gap is going to be, let's just do it. Like, I don't know. Let's try and do it at least once a month, I'd say.
We'll try.
No promises.
We'll try to do it every month.
Yeah, they didn't stick to that either. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right, guys, thank you for joining us all season long. Check us out next week on Star Wars, live action Star Wars. I don't have any taco podcasts coming out in the next week or two because I'm feeling heavy at the moment. But I'll be back on that soon. My Ralph's still making a movie. That's coming soon.
Yeah, I'm still making a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, guy, I don't want to end it because I love the show so much. And saying goodbye to this episode makes it feel like the season's
and also
over.
Again, Kirkman, Otley, Walker, any of the writers from the show, anybody of the artists
anyone
from the
who
show,
works
on the show, if you want to come on, that would make us very happy. We'd love to sit down and chat about the show we love because we love it so much, and we enjoy doing this podcast. So we finally made it on Apple Podcast. If you type in Invincible, we're the third one that shows up. I've been trying forever to figure out how come it's just not showing up, and it's finally if anyone happens to be on Apple Podcasts and types in Invincible, our show comes up. So to all the listeners out there, come over to the YouTube channel. We may have some bonus episodes that are only showing up there, but I want to do more Invincible.
And Stevie says she wants more taco pods and hopes I feel better. I feel fine. I just feel a little bit bloated at the moment. I just need to like chill out with the tacos. I think me and Liz are both feeling it. Like the summer's coming, we've got festivals to do, so we can't just binge eat tacos all day every day as much as
we're making a list. We're making a list of Southern California tacos for you guys.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, I flooded my Instagram stories with just pictures of places. It's essentially a menu. So when you guys come over, you can scroll through that and be like, how is this one? How is this one? Oh,
yeah.
Before we go, because we started an hour later this week.
For you,
I didn't claim my
yeah.
I didn't claim. I need to claim my weekly alliance.
We broke through another thing today. I managed to get us through because I've got my Omni Man.
Did we clear the region?
We cleared one of them. Yeah. You should have that to claim as well. Yeah, I cleared a region this morning.
Oh, so we have region awards up at the top.
Yeah.
You need to go
So
collect those.
rest of the crew can get in there and claim that as well if you
Next
haven't
time
already.
reached. 1 week.
There you go. 1 week.
So since we don't
It's
have a show
been
next
1
week,
week.
I'm gonna have to try to remember when to do that.
That's why I set mine to
Man,
Monday
now I could build
mornings
my
because I can always do it when I'm at
oh
work.
man, now I could build up my Omni-Man even more. I have my Omni-Man at Epic. It's crazy. It's so fun. It's so fun. They're gonna
It's
have
such
to
a dumb
release a lot of stuff. They're gonna have to finally release Doc
yeah,
Seismic.
update.
They're gonna have to give us like all kinds of people during this break. So
Yeah.
Guarding the Globe. Let's get
Kahor the Mummy. That'd be great.
great.
Um,
I'm trying to think
guys,
who we don't have, but
so many. There's so many people in Invincible.
Dinosaurus.
Dinosaurus. That's how they announce it. Is they make you come to the game, get an announcement of who's coming in season 3.
Yeah.
Right, everybody.
Alrighty.
That's it. Thank you for joining us once again, Ralph. I'll see you next week. And I've forgotten how I do it. Yeah, just stay tuned. Follow the socials, and you'll find us when we're next back with another episode of